The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff or management of Visionary Related Entertainment.
Aloha and welcome to Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where you'll find us talking story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and staff to find out how they're working to support the needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. So if you're building or remodeling a home, please stop by Pacific Source's cabinet and appliance showroom located in the Waikapu Bayshard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. During this hour, we share some of the experiences of our nonprofit agencies and just how they're changing lives, changing communities, and creating miracles of hope for those with needs. Today, we're going to start off the program by talking with Judy Guajardo, right there, who is the volunteer coordinator for Naho Aloha. Hi, Judy.
Good morning. Well, good afternoon, Susie.
Yeah, we just crossed, didn't we?
Thank you so much for having us today.
It's been an interesting morning getting everybody organized for this show because we had a couple backouts and a couple of cancellations and maybes and ifs and ands. And I mean, during this time when we don't know when Lane is going to make his appearance to us here on Maui, we know it's coming, and things are slowly getting shut down along the way. And so a volunteer program like Naho Aloha, this is a big deal.
This is a very big deal because, one, we won't be on the phones or in the office to take the calls for the requests that we have from the mini kapuna on a daily basis, either looking for resources for services or needing to get that ride to their medical appointment or to buy groceries. And especially true for the kapuna that live alone. They may not even be aware that Lane is on his way. So we spent our morning making sure that we reached out to as many people that we know that are the most vulnerable. And we're actually delivering some food items, some milk and bread, and some of the necessities. Actually, I was asked to attend to escort a woman to a wedding on the beach this afternoon.
Oh, my gosh.
We will see how that goes, but we're staying in touch. We're on wedding watch.
Wedding watch. Now, they actually closed, supposedly, all the beach parks and things. I suppose you still can get on them for something like that. That's kind of interesting.
It's very interesting. It's interesting because that's one of the many types of services that we are able to provide as volunteers. And people think it's only for essentials like food and medicine. But we have found in our research and in what the feedback we get from our participants is social isolation is a real thing, and it's a real health issue. It can cause decline in health for people that are alone, because not only are they isolated, but they become very depressed through that loneliness, and that has an adverse effect on a person's health. Especially true with our seniors.
Does it make them kind of self-reflective? I mean, they're always looking inward because that's all they have?
That's all they have, or they just sort of shut down altogether. And it can be for a lot of reasons. It can be from fear. Maybe they've taken a fall, and since that fall, they've become so fearful of it happening again that it might be the last time for them to go out. And we pay close attention to those situations that adversely affect the kapuna in there, because our mission is to help people continue to live and thrive independently. So a lot of social engagement is vital to a person's health. So when you get invited, go. Get out, do things.
Get out and do things. That's the key.
It is.
And I understand totally the idea that if you have fallen, whether you really got hurt or not, it's still that idea that that next step could be another fall, and this one could have consequences.
Oh, absolutely. And just the fear alone makes you at a greater risk for falling the next time. So what we have incorporated in our core services, which are friendly visits, transportation, escorted transportation, that's door to door, as well as telephone reassurance calls, is free in-home falls assessments to help identify environmental changes that can be made that can just make a little bit of difference. Bringing awareness. We do a lot of presentations. Our next fall's presentation will be in September, which is September 22nd is the National Falls Awareness Day. And we try to make it fun and actually teach people that falling can be fun if you know how to do it, because you get back up, and that spring back up is what you'll be smiling about. But we do try to bring awareness to the point that people, it lessens the fear that they have.
I like that comment about spring back up, because I'm thinking back to my days in high school and sports and stuff when it was you learn how to tuck and roll. You know, if you know you're going down, you do certain things.
Absolutely. They're actually doing a program in the Netherlands, which is a week-long training in a gymnasium setting with the mats for elderly to go through a routine guided by physical therapists and balance professionals, so that they teach them how to tuck and roll. And they're finding it to be so valuable that it's taking fear away from falling. And it helps a person understand that balance. Exercises. Tai Chi is the most important exercise that's been identified to help seniors stay balanced and steadier on their feet.
Because that's not all the bouncing around. That's just your kind of calm movements and holding positions and things like that, right?
That's right. That's right. And it's good for the spirit, for the soul, to be in a group setting as well. And most of the Tai Chi exercises are at a very low fee or no fee. And they're also, as I mentioned, in groups, so that you're getting that social interaction, which is, again, vital to healthy living.
And there's no long-term commitment. Like, you don't have to join and go every Thursday for 6 months or something. You can go today, you can go 2 weeks from now.
That's so true. However, if you talk to the masters, they will tell you, practice does make it perfect. And they want it to be a part of your everyday living routine and not just a hobby. So
Gotcha.
that it's incorporated in, you get breakfast, you do Tai Chi, it doesn't require a long-term commitment, but it does require consistency, I believe.
Okay, but you can do a lot of that at home and just go to a session
You can.
periodically.
You can absolutely do it at home. Once you get the essential movements, hopefully you wouldn't want to just do it at home, because you do want to get out and be around other people.
Right. Interesting. And I guess I've heard people say that they have lost weight and other things have gotten...
You hush now, Susie.
I'm the perfect one to talk, because I need to. But it also kind of firms up your body because of the activity.
It does. And we have a great example. We have a participant. His name is Master Alfred Wang. He's 97 years old, and he has a class at Kaunoa every Friday, and it's so much in demand that they're probably going to add a second class. And he also has 2 classes in Kihei on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Oh, my gosh.
His maybe you should have him on your show. He's really quite fascinating. And his outlook is that everyone can and should live to be 100. He is the founder of the Maui Centenarians Club.
Wow. Living proof.
We have goals.
Yeah, that's and excuse me, actually we do have more people living to be 100 plus than we realize.
Oh, yes, we do. And he challenged me to give him the number of residents on Maui that are 100 plus or plus years old. And we're working on it, and there's more than we realized. So we're very happy that, maybe through supportive services like we have with the Kapuna, it is making it possible for people to live not only longer, but independently longer.
Well, I think what you talked about with the socialization and things, you're looking at people wanting to. I mean, they have a reason to live. They're not just existing.
Oh, absolutely. I love the way you just said that. They're not just existing.
Yeah.
And that's what the volunteers of Naho Aloha, of which we have just over 300 volunteers that give their time with such aloha. They actually become part of the families. You know, people ask me, but they have kids that live here. They live in the home with kids, or there are people nearby, their neighbors. We don't stop to question why. We just know that individual is deserving of support, and that's what we do. And I cannot tell you how incredible the volunteers are, and most of them have more than one person that they visit on a regular basis. They have 3 or 4.
Wow.
With the 300 plus volunteers, we pair that with over 850 participants. So there is a disparity in the numbers. And another program that we're really putting focus to is, and also addresses social isolation, is the telephone calling. It used to be for medical, reasons, medication reminders, but more and more we're finding people just want to chat about things they have in common. It's amazing how much friendship can be developed through the phone call. I have a lady I talk to every single day, and I'm just one of hundreds of volunteers that do that. And the comparison to a friendly visit, in-person visit, and a 10-minute phone call is almost identical to the positive effect it has on a person's well-being and their outlook for that day, that moment, that week. Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. Wow, 10-minute phone call.
Yep.
It's when you think about it, I think I've got a lot of friends on the mainland yet. Mm-hmm. Even though I've been here 40 years, they're still all scattered around. And I think every once in a while I should just pick up the phone and call them. Quit the texting, quit the emails, mm-hmm. The Christmas letter that's just kind of, okay, it's out there. They want to know if I'm still alive and what happens in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And of course today I'm getting messages from everybody saying, did I see a hurricane on the map this morning? Or something to that effect.
I know.
Keep in touch. Let me know that you're safe. And I'm thinking, keep in touch. Let me know if you're safe. What does that mean? If I don't keep in touch, does that mean I'm not safe? Or then what?
I don't know, but I might steal that caption, keep in touch, as part of a campaign we might do for telephone calls. Keep in touch. A lot of people want to volunteer. One trend we've seen over the last several months is younger folks volunteering. Previously, we've attracted post-retirement people, but now we're getting pre-retirement, and the trend that we're seeing over the last few months is actually young moms that want to model for their children what it's like to give back. That's very exciting.
That is.
That's very exciting. Because globally, you mentioned everybody's scattered here and there. We have a wonderful website here on Maui called Hands on Maui that anyone in the world can access that website and find volunteer opportunities. So people kind of gravitate to what their interests are, and we've gotten people that want to volunteer on vacation. I think it's amazing. Last week I met a gentleman and his two sons. They met me at a house in Kihei for a man that's lived in his home for 68 years and needed a little help with gardening. He's a man in his 90s. The pictures they sent, and I can't even talk about it because I'll start crying.
Oh,
It's
no.
so touching and so beautiful. It looked like the yin and yang of life when I got there and introduced them. And at the end of the day, the gentleman on vacation with his son sent me a picture of the two boys hugging the gentleman they were helping, and that, of course, went to Facebook immediately.
Right.
So, and speaking of Facebook, that one photograph got the most hits in the shortest amount of time of anything else I've posted in the last 3 years.
Isn't that something?
Isn't that? Mm-hmm.
Boy, what an example. On that note, we got to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with our nonprofit agency directors and staff to find out what's happening in their world. And here in the first half of the show today, we're talking with Judy Guajardo, who is the volunteer coordinator for Naho Aloha. That's Loving Friends.
Thank you. It is Loving Friends.
I just think that name is so cool.
Oh, no.
I mean, it just says it all.
Yes, it does. Yes, thank you for saying that. And we're so happy to represent the very best of what Maui has, not only for the kupuna, but for the families, family caregivers, situations that we can all be faced with. People, it's hard to understand that living in paradise can have loneliness and isolation and dire need. But people come here with the best of intentions. They come here from all walks of life, and they've done everything right in their life, but they didn't factor in Alzheimer's, or they didn't factor in, other debilitating conditions that maybe will affect their partner. Or leave them alone. Being here often means that your family cannot get to you. So we work tirelessly to help build care teams based on neighbors, volunteers, relatives. When we're doing an intake for our participant, someone calls us for services, we try to get to know as much about that person, where they are at the moment, without judgment, without fees. We have no fees. We have no qualifiers other than age. And we do have 60 and above age requirements, unless there's a permanent disability, and then we have younger folks. But you have to understand, most of our people are 80 and above, and most of the participants requiring service also live below the poverty level. So they don't have access to resources. And that's why it's so important for an agency like Naho Aloha, which has been providing the service for 23 years now.
It's incredible.
And continues to grow. You know, nationwide, they're showing a decline in volunteer signups. And we've stayed really steady. Throughout the time, we've seen a little bit of a boost because we are utilizing more technology. You know, it took us a little while to get there, but we have a wonderful data management system that allows the volunteers to see the opportunities as well as record and keep track of their own time records.
And there's I think something that's an important thing for your volunteers. They volunteer. They do time and give time when they can and want to.
Yes.
They're not held to a strict standard that they have to do so many hours or whatever. And I mean, I've heard of some of the people that use your services saying, "Oh yeah, he picks me up every Thursday to go get groceries." Or I have a standing appointment with my doctor every fourth Tuesday. And so, but there may be a time when somebody else drives because that driver's not available. Now, your volunteers drive their own cars.
They do. They drive their own cars. We do have a vetting system that they do have background checks. They have driver abstracts, and they show proof of insurance. We also have a liability insurance that blankets on top of that. The participants are a particularly vulnerable demographic, and the volunteers show utmost respect, utmost care, and they know that they've got precious cargo.
Right.
And they're so courteous, and I think not everyone, there are other transportation services available on Maui, but not everyone can go out to the curb and wait. Another restriction we have, unfortunately, is our volunteers use their own cars, so we can't accommodate wheelchairs. We do walkers, and we encourage people to use walkers because that, again, helps them stay steady on their feet and independent and out of harm's way. In falling, it does help a lot. But we always ask those questions so the volunteer knows what to expect. And it's a two-way street. The volunteers will call us, and they will tell us certain things that we need to be aware of or just observations they've made. So it's another set of eyes.
Right.
That and loved ones, family really appreciate the feedback from the volunteers. You know, sometimes people can have early signs of dementia, but they present very well to their family. And maybe family sees them a little less often than the volunteer does.
True.
You mentioned once a week. That's an ideal situation. We have last year at our recognition in April, or this year in April, at our recognition, we had 27 volunteers that did more than 100 hours of volunteer work. And we had 2 in particular that did almost 700 hours.
Wow.
So that's a job.
Yeah, it is.
But, you know, they still smile and they call my people, my lady.
Yeah.
You know, they're really possessive of the folks that they take care of. And they go on vacations and they call us and they make sure there's a replacement before they leave them. Anything that happens, they want them to be notified in the gentlest of ways so that they don't upset anyone. They don't want to give them unnecessary anxiety over, you know, what it might sound like to a participant. But all in all, it's about that friendship, that real bond that's made. And I want to thank you. The last time, I think, was about a year ago, that Naho Aloha was featured on your show. within about 30 seconds that it went off the air, we got a volunteer. And she is that volunteer that visits a lady twice a week.
Wow.
And makes sure that they don't even have to call the office. They just
They just call each
call
other.
each other. And that is, we do urge the volunteers. You don't, you can send a carrier pigeon. We don't care. We do need the numbers. That's how we,
Right.
we get funded by the Hawaii Community Foundation. Especially our largest supporter and funder is the Maui County Office on Aging. We are a service provider of theirs, and so it's really important that we can show that our work is valuable. It is working because this, being able to show the numbers and do the reports that are required. And I'm afraid we're being underreported. So I could tell you we do 28,000 hours of volunteer work, and it's probably 48,000. But
I know I saw a stat that said driven 60,000 miles last year.
Yes.
26,000 phone calls, or no, 2,800, no, what is it? 26,000 hours.
Hours, yeah.
It's just, I mean, that's incredible. I mean,
That is.
and your staff is so small.
3.
That's
It's like almost 3, but yes,
Almost
it is
3.
very small. And people come into the office and they're expecting, like, well, where's that room with all the cubicles? It's like, no, we're the dispatcher, we're the counselors, we're the intake agents, we're the volunteers,
Right.
we're
And
the emergency
I
drivers.
I wish everybody out there who's listening could see Judy and the expressions on her face. It's just, you love what you do.
I tell people I never have a bad day at work, not ever. It is every day I feel like I have in some small measure made a difference, in a positive difference to someone else. And that just
That's wonderful.
makes me happy to get up every morning.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Let's give a phone number so we can get you a phone call when you leave.
Absolutely. We're at 808-249-2545. And you can also visit our website at www.nahoaloha.org. And if you have some time and you some desire to make a difference in the life of a kupuna, you'll find our enrollment forms there on our volunteer page.
Great. And I'll spell that out for you in case you don't happen to know how to spell Ho'aloha, even though it's pretty simple, just like it sounds. It's Naho Aloha. Loving friends, and that's truly what you all are. Thank you, Judy, for joining us today.
Thank you, Susie.
Be safe, and tell all those volunteers to stay home for a day.
Oh,
Or
I
if
know.
that storm hits us.
Make sure you check on your neighbor in case they.
Well, there you go. Or check on your
Yes.
friend to make sure they're safe as well.
That's right. Oh,
Yeah.
Reach out. Thank you and stay safe. Thank you so much, Susie.
No, you're
It's
welcome,
been a
Judy.
pleasure.
Thank you. We're going to shift gears quite a bit here, and we're going to talk to a couple of folks from Women Helping Women. Hi there.
Hello, Susie.
How you doing?
Good.
This is always something that I'm not quite sure I totally understand, because fortunately enough, I don't think ever had this happen to me. And that is basically just what Women Helping Women is all about, which is domestic violence. And I know there's various forms of it. Some is physical abuse, some is mental abuse. And I'm going to go out on a limb here and correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me like the mental abuse can go on a lot longer than the physical abuse, because the person being abused doesn't realize it's happening to them.
Yeah, it can involve gaslighting, making the victim feel as if they're going crazy, or it's all about power and control in domestic violence relationships. The victim is being controlled, and the abuser wants power over the victim. They want to control their every move, They want to control, you know, who they see, what they do. But the emotional can be, it's verbal abuse, you know. It's the controlling factors that, you know, they have to follow these set things every day. And it's just, it all kind of builds up, and it gets to the victim's head, and that it's difficult for them to seek help. You know.
The thing I think that I as over the years, as I've talked to your executive directors and so forth, the one thing that keeps jumping out at me is that the person who is being abused is not always a weak person.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they seem very strong in their own right, and yet they live with this.
Yeah, there are so many factors that go along with, you know, why abused women, they don't seek help. They go on for years. I mean, it takes about 7 to 8 times for an abused woman to leave a domestic violence relationship. I mean, there's so many factors involved that prevents a woman from leaving an abusive relationship. There's fear of losing your children, you know, that leads to custody battles, that leads to divorce battles. And it instills that fear in them. You know, they could lose their house. It's financial. It's you know, the abuser had control over their money. They paid, you know, their name was on the house, those types of things. Their fear of authorities, you know, if they've had an experience in the past where, you know, they called the police for help and, you know, they felt victimized all over again, then they're not going to call again. They're going to get discouraged to kind of seek help. You know, and it's, you know, that love factor is there. It stays there. You know, they love this person.
Right.
But it is a cycle. You know, after the big incident happens where, you know, they're abused, the explosion happens, it goes back in a pattern. It starts back in the hearts and flowers phase. You know, the honeymoon phase, you know, I'm so sorry, you know, it
Never
starts with the
happen
sorry.
again.
It'll never happen again, you know, I'll do this next time. It's the promises, and then it leads back to the controlling, and it's a temporary phase, and we like our people that come in to seek help to know that, you know, that cycle is real. It's a never-ending cycle if you stay in a relationship like that, because it doesn't take a second for the abuser to change. You know, it's a long term.
But there's that underlying thought that they have that it's their fault.
Yeah, they believe it's their fault, and that's the part of the abuser playing those tactics on them. Yeah, and they make them think that, you know, why did I, you know, what did I do to make him do that? You know, I shouldn't have left that dish there for him to come and yell at me, or I should have warmed his food up more. You know, little things like that kind of makes them feel like, you know, I should have done this, I should have done that. And maybe he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have hit me, or he wouldn't have yelled at me, or, you know,
But he was going to yell at you, and it's just you gave him something, as little as it might be, for him to react with.
Yeah, and a lot of times our victims struggle with, you know, they feel like it's their fault, but, you know, the perpetrator who is abusing them, that's their own actions that lead them to do those things. You know, you're not provoking. They already have something that they've dealt with from probably their own childhood that they just have to deal with, and these women kind of they're the ones there. They're the targets of this abuse. Yeah.
So, if I recall correctly, one of the things that stands out is that being an abuser is an acquired habit or routine or learned, I should say, action from, as you said, from when they were growing up. Maybe they were in a household that had that.
Yeah, a lot of the times, you know, there are a lot of factors that go into that. Some people think it was the alcohol or it's the drugs that are making him do this. I mean, I believe that's just a cover up. It's not the true factor as to why he's behaving like this. It's the childhood. He grew up in a home where, you know, the same thing. His dad did that to his mom, or he grew up, you know, in foster homes, or there's mental health issues in the family. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of different factors that can play into that type of abuse behavior.
And then would the alcohol and the drugs just kind of
they kind of just
enhance that and
they
make
do they kind of do, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's not the main playing factor to that. It's
Right.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
She did that pretty well, didn't she?
Yeah.
Well, she just went right through
Yeah.
it.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. That was
No.
in 10 minutes. I mean, you put it all out there. We're going to take a short break and we'll be right back.
All right.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story about what is going on in our community and how our nonprofit agencies can help with issues that are out there. This afternoon, we're spending the second half of our hour talking with a couple of ladies from Women Helping Women who primarily work in the TRO department, temporary restraining orders. And before the break, we were getting a very good, comprehensive picture of abuse and how it happens and why it continues. And I think we're kind of at a point where maybe it's time to make that, if you're the abused, it's time to make that phone call and find out what and who can help you.
Mm-hmm. So we do have a 24-hour domestic hotline number. Basically, it's I'm going to give it to you right now, just in case. 808-579-9581. If you're ever in crisis or you need, to discuss options on your next step, or, you just want to ask a question about your situation, we have someone there 24 hours. Of course, they work different shifts. It's not just that one person all the time. But you can call and you can talk to an advocate or an intake person up there, and they can help you to assist, which direction that you want to go. For the temporary restraining orders, it's not something for everybody. It's not something everybody chooses to do. There's that fear in what that will lead to after it's filed and done, and where they're going to go. It leads back to that, barriers of leaving the relationship. But if they do choose to do a temporary restraining order, we assist with that process. We have court advocacy. We sit with them at the courthouse. We assist, making sure they're safe at the courthouse and they feel like they have support. Because some people who, do restraining orders, they come from the mainland and, they've been isolated here on the island. They don't have anyone to support, and we're the main source, helping support them.
Mm-hmm. Now, doing the TRO, is that something that anybody would just jump into? I mean, to me, it's a scary thing.
It is a very scary thing because most, people we help, they're like, they want to do the temporary restraining order, to keep this person away from them. But, they have to think of the other outside factors. What are they going to do when they're served with this document? What are they going to do when the police show up to serve them? And they get very worried. They don't know what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, it is just a piece of paper. We'll say that because it is, that doesn't necessarily can't prevent, a homicide from happening or that person going and hurting them still. That can happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But it makes the consequences of that more severe. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, there's always that remaining fear, though, and going to court, worrying about what's going to happen there. Some, feel like they can kind of get out on their own, but it's more difficult. With the temporary restraining order, it's that first step in releasing yourself from that relationship because, they have that factor keeping this person away from them, and they can kind of go on with their lives knowing they can call the police if they need the help.
And get more priority treatment, I would think, get
Yeah.
immediate response
Yeah.
because you have it.
Yeah.
Does the person getting served the papers, do they have the ability to come to court and fight it?
Yes, so that's what the temporary restraining order hearing is for. There's always a hearing. It's within 2 weeks of filing a temporary restraining order, and that opportunity is actually to turn that temporary into a longer term order, which is called the order for protection. And basically, the party that was served is, told to show up to this hearing along with the victim who was hurt. And that's where we come in. We help the victim. Basically, that's the opportunity for the perpetrator to come in and give their side of the story and say, I don't agree to this, or, she's making this all up, those types of things. And then from there, it determines how long the order is extended for. Yeah.
I see. And can you get a second one? I mean, when that expires, can
Yeah.
you just keep getting them?
Yeah, so
Or
there
does
has
something have to happen in between?
Yeah, there has to kind of be a reason why you want to extend it and make it longer. But I mean, that can definitely be done months before it expires.
I see.
And there'll be another hearing, though. That's the only thing.
Oh, okay. So they get another chance to.
Yeah.
Boy, I don't know.
Yeah. If they need it, yeah.
Yeah, that's a scary thought. And of course, we see all these television shows, the police shows and lawyer shows that show temporary restraining orders either aggravate them further,
Yeah.
and that's the only ones you see. You don't see the ones where maybe they attempt to get help.
Yeah, no, they definitely, I will say that there are some cases where, I mean, I say some, not most, but where they do actually go and get on a good path to seeking help. Because, I mean, most of the time there is alcohol involved, there is, mental health issues involved, there is drugs involved. And, the TRO can lead to that person getting the help that they need in the end. But the long-term effects of that, we're not sure.
Gotcha. So the main point is you want to call it to their attention what they're doing to this relationship, because I mean, is there a chance they don't understand what they're doing is wrong?
Definitely. I would say most of the time that the opposite party is in denial. The first step is for them to admit that what they're doing is wrong. What they're doing is, not right. And most of the time they don't understand that, and it takes them a while. It takes therapy sessions, counseling sessions, psychologists, all those types of things. I mean, it's not a process where you're like, yeah, I did that. It's very
That's not gonna
rare to
happen.
see that. No,
Yeah. Was it last week, Gary? We had the folks from Maui Mediation on. I think it was, and we were talking about the different ways you can say things, and the what it means to different people. And just the way it's said.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that what you said was good or bad, but you could take something that you really think is good and you want somebody to get excited about, and they're sitting there going, what?
Yeah.
And I can see that perhaps there are some occasions where the person doing the abuse doesn't really understand, especially if it's mental abuse.
Yes.
I mean, physical abuse, that's pretty cut and dry, I would think.
Yeah.
But the mental abuse, I mean, if that's they grew up witnessing that, and they think that's it.
They think it's a normal everyday thing, that's the way that, it's normal. It's normal to talk to other people like that, and it's just not. It's not.
Yeah. But then if they can, I mean, and then this is where the relationship between the couple is very important. If it's worthwhile to them to try to make it right.
Yeah. But
And
then that leads back to that cycle again.
Oh.
Yeah. So you can try to make, of course, as women, we want to try to make it work. That it takes, sometimes we were there. That's why it takes about 7 to 8 times to leave. We want to make it work, but then we end up back in that cycle where, we talk, they'll talk to us, we'll talk to them, and we'll try to make it work. But then we get back at that huge incident that leads, the controlling behavior, the incident that makes everything go back again. And it's just that round and round cycle. And we see that so often, and it,
Now, does the, I don't want to say typical abuser, find themselves in a new relationship?
Yes.
If this gets pushed so far, do they find somebody else to abuse?
There are those. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of different types. of abusers. There's the types that have their mind set on that one person, which, leads to the stalking and leads to more. And they just can't let that person go, which those are a little bit more scarier. And then there's the other ones that, will jump from relationship to relationship, and we see the same victims, the same name come up. We see, those that we wish we could bring more awareness to, that there are these perpetrators out there that they jump from relationship to relationship, and, more and more women come forward with,
wow.
this is pretty much the same story.
My gosh.
Yeah.
But then, do you ever once in a while have a success story where somebody does go and seeks the help they need to quit the drugs or the drinking, or at least can get it under control?
Yeah, we see a few of those. Yeah, I mean, it's not a lot,
right.
because it takes a lot of effort on the perpetrator's part to go do that. So, I mean, there are cases though, where they'll seek help, or they start seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist a couple times a week. And there are some that will say, I know I have this problem, I did these things, and then they go seek treatment on another island for their substance abuse issues, and things like that. Yeah. So there are successes. They're not all. Yeah.
No, are they far and few between, or few and far between? So
yeah.
I said it backwards.
Yeah.
But okay, so that's. I don't know, because I think I've heard stories of people saying, "You're dating who?" Mm-hmm. And
yes.
it's like, you don't know the story.
Yeah, and a lot of time, we live on such a small island, and we all see the same people. We know of the names of different people, and and there are some people who actually come and see us, and they want to warn the others of this, but and they do, sometimes some do reach out to other ones and, let them know, you're dating this person. And yeah, I'm just letting you know, he's done this and he has this history of doing this. And as women, I think we should listen to other women who have been in that, because it could save you a lot of hardship, down the road, and
right.
peace of mind.
Now, we've been talking mostly about women who are being abused, but we also find men being abused. And then, does anybody ever come in with a child that somebody has been abusing?
Yes, so we do. There's also TROs, restraining orders, that can be filed on behalf of children who are being abused. It could be a mother or father bringing a child in who's being abused by the opposite parent, or by a grandparent, or, things like that. Yeah, we do help with restraining orders involving children.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. And we even help adults, like elderly. We help elderly. You can actually file
elder abuse, yeah.
And you can actually file a restraining order on behalf of an elderly, a parent or grandparent. And yeah, we've seen successes with those.
True. We do hear stories of and a lot of times that abuse, well, it can be verbal. It can be also
it could be sexual,
physical,
sexual, emotional.
Yeah. Most of the ones we hear about are ones where they've done something with their money.
Yeah, it's a huge thing, is the financial abuse. It's a thing, and
it's
we even
real.
it's real, and we have, parents who have grown children, and, they house them, they need some place to stay, and then that abuse happens to them too. We have a lot of parents who come in to, need help with their adult children, because that financial abuse and that emotional abuse is there, even though it's not a, an intimate partner
right
relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty heavy subject, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
And do the folks that like yourselves that work in this program, can you kind of somehow turn it off in your heads when you go home at night?
Yes, once we leave that office, we shut it all off. We have to wipe our slate clean, or else, it'll stick with us.
Yeah.
And of course, we have those certain ones that we do go home with. But, self-care is what our agency is about, and we like to make sure that each person and advocate that helps people, that, we take care of ourselves. Because in order to care for others, we have to kind of be, good to ourselves and take care.
I remember when I first moved into my job, where we share an office building, right, across the hall from each other, actually. And I remember saying at one point, "How come they have so many training days and so many days of what do they call them? I can't remember now what it was called, but it was like, gosh, they're always closed for this and that. Mm-hmm. And
Self-care days.
It's it. It took a while for me to understand, and it was basically through the radio show and talking with the executive directors that this is so heavy. You guys have to have, whether it's some game you're playing at this retreat or just discussion of fun things or neat things.
Yep, we'll get together with as much staff, who wants to come, and we'll do things that, we love that, and we're just being with each other. Yeah.
And then it became clear, I thought, my gosh, they should have more.
Yeah.
Because that's and those of you who get into this, I mean, you've got this real attachment to it. I mean, it's not just a job for you.
Oh, no, it's not something that we just, each one of us that work in our agency, we've been through domestic violence. We've been with those perpetrators. Some of us have filed the restraining orders. We've been to court, and we know the process. We know, just the hurt and the shame and everything that is involved in domestic violence. And that's why we, as advocates, we want to be there for other victims, and we want to be that support system, because some of us didn't have that. And
you've come through it to the other side. Mm-hmm. And it works. It can happen. Yeah. There's life beyond.
Yeah, and we can pass our knowledge of the process on to these, other people who need that help.
That's great. Yeah. Now, earlier we talked about the 24-hour hotline. That is handled by Women Helping Women. It's not a generic number out there in cyberspace.
Yeah. We do have a shelter. Yeah, an emergency shelter.
Okay. So the 24-hour hotline again. You can just ask a question. It doesn't have to be.
Nope.
Something that you're in total stress and something has to happen right now.
And it's anonymous. Yep.
579-9581.
Yep.
And then your office number for just general inquiries and so forth, 242-6600.
Yep, that's the one.
Okay. Now, if there's a real situation where something tragic is about to happen, what do they do?
Of course, call 911.
There you go.
Number one. But
right.
If not, and you need help, just call the domestic violence hotline.
Right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us today and sharing this. You did a great job explaining all the different kinds.
And if anyone's out there and needs help, we're here for you. We're your support, and we want to be here for you.
Okay. We got you. Thank you so much. Boy, what a day. Maui Nonprofit Notes is sponsored as a community service by Pacific Source, the builder's choice. Give Paul and his staff a call at 986-0380 or stop by their showroom in the Waikapu Bayshard on East Oahe Way to see how they can help you with your building project. Today we visited with Naho Aloha and got an update on what they're doing and the volunteers and the people they're working with. We had Judy Guajardo, who is a volunteer coordinator for them, talk about the wonderful experiences that you too could have as a volunteer for them. 249-2545 is their phone number. Also, you can sign up to be the recipient of their services, as well as being a volunteer and giving those services. We spent the second half of the show talking with Women Helping Women about temporary restraining orders for domestic violence. The 24-hour hotline number, once more time, is 579-9581. And the office phone number for general inquiry is 242-6600. Wow, what a day. Everybody out there getting ready for Lane to come our way. Please stay safe, keep dry, stay with your family, and keep everyone safe. We want to thank you for joining us. Please join us again next week, same time, same place, when we'll feature 2 more agencies. Until then, I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific, and your host for Maui Nonprofit Notes. By the way, we're on 98.7 FM. Big time. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week, everyone. Aloha.